Okay, y'all. Welcome back. And today, I feel like I have a good topic for y'all. It's about when Bruno defied death for 2 days. Naturally, we're going to be picking up like midway in part 5, so let's get right into it. For those of you who haven't watched part 5 by this point, the group just met Trish. You know, they're taking her to the boss. They get to the boss through boat. Yeah, boat. And once they get there, we see Bruno and Trish go inside the building. Now, we get a scene of them talking on the elevator, and Trish, she actually is a lot more nervous than she was leading on, especially now that it's here, because she's like, what type of father will he be? What type of father leaves his child for 15 years and only comes back after his mother dies? Bruno's trying to reassure her, but then he turns his head. And when he turns his head and he looks back, she's gone. And I don't mean it's like a prank or nothing. Like, she's dead ass out the elevator. So Bruno, he opens the elevator with his stand, and his nosy ass, he goes searching for her, because he's like, yeah, I don't want nothing to happen to her. Which, again, fair. Definitely when talking about criminals in JoJo, Bruno's a lot one of the morally correct criminals in JoJo. But he goes looking for her, and the boss had left a note saying, your job is done. Go back to the car. And Bruno, he was like, well, fuck that. And he decides, you know what, I'm going to save Trish, which, real bad idea. So he goes into the building, he's walking around, he's trying to find where she could be, until eventually he finds something. Now, I said something, not someone, something. And he starts immediately blasting off. Going punches, rights, lefts, hooks, uppercuts, everything. Until the pillar shapes out and it looks like he's throwing them at himself. And that's when the boss, who we still haven't gotten a reveal for yet, but we know his stand now, comes out of nowhere. Right through the chest. It was insane. Now, of course, Bruno tried to fight back, but my goat, he just had nothing to counter such an elite sand move. Luckily for Bruno, Giorno was also in the vicinity and he was in the building. Bruno, he had opened a zipper, got to a different floor with him and Trish, and he was really just laying there. Once Giorno finds him, he's about yay close from dying. Just about this close. Not even. He was about this close. And Bruno uses his last natural born breaths to tell Giorno to run away. The boss is too powerful. But that's not what Giorno does. Instead, his first immediate reaction is to heal Bruno. But by this point, Bruno had already died. He was literally just a corpse looking up at the ceiling. But it's very important to tell you, even though he had died, his soul had not left his body yet. That's a part of the only reason we saw Bruno still be able to move post this part. This part is very important. But both of them are healed, and Trish, she isn't really hurt or anything, so they go back out. They tell the rest of the group, yeah, we're going after the boss. And Fugo didn't take too kindly for that. He said, y'all are idiots. Y'all got that. In some ways he's a real one for walking out, because like, there's a good part of me that's just gonna be like, yeah, no. But after this, Giorno notices that there's something wrong with Bucciarati. He doesn't feel pain. He's cold to the touch. He doesn't really express emotions anymore. And he doesn't fucking bleed. Like, there's like, you can't make Bucciarati bleed anymore, but they go through more of Diablo's guard squad, including Notorious B.I.G., and they're continuing on their journey. But Bucciarati, he's getting worse by the day. It's getting bad too, because Giorno can really notice that he's just not himself. So then they get a tip, more so they can find out Diablo's identity. And while they're on that island, the rest of the Passion squad, including Bruno, were all lured away from the shore, because Moody Blues was doing his job in finding out the identity. That's where we get the always gut-wrenching scene of Diablo sneaking up as a child and getting his licks. But with Moody Blue's last final action, they uncovered Diablo is the boss. And from there, they meet Polnareff. I'm pretty sure. Like, Polnareff contacts them and he tells them, meet me at the Coliseum. Now, this is where our half alive, half dead Bucciarati cooks, because then we finally get the Chocolato versus Giorno and Mista, and then the Secco versus Bucciarati, which in that fight, no one helped him. But he didn't give a damn about no help. He couldn't feel pain. He couldn't feel most of the shit either way. He was just like, fuck it. It got to a point where he was, because like Secco's whole stand, he's sinking you into the ground. He literally swims through rocks and shit like that. How do you get past that? Bucciarati found a way. But anyway, they spent like an episode or two fighting, scrapping, going through everything up until the end where Secco, he was cornered. Bucciarati had literally blown out his eardrum, so now he couldn't use his waves to hear where people are in the ground if Bruno goes into the ground, or to swim through the ground properly. So he was cooked either way. And he grabs on to who he thinks is a random bystander, but it's really Doppio. And Doppio being there did not stop Bruno for 1 millisecond. He got Secco out of there as soon as he could, and he was right next to the Coliseum, mind you, this whole time, right next to uncovering everything they need to know. Since Doppio's now here, he was not trying to let that happen. Now, when Bruno was lucky, because when he turned his back, Doppio was going to go in for the kill, but he had decided against it just to get more intel. But I also need to incorporate this too. By this point, Bruno was blind. He could not see, really. The only way he was able to communicate and talk to people, life energy, and he could see individual souls. And that's because he was half dead, half alive. But Doppio and Diablo lead Bruno to where he was trying to go. And once we get there, we know what happens, really, for those who watch the show. If you didn't, Doppio sneaks off. He finds Polnareff sitting up top in his wheelchair, does the slow reveal, and now Polnareff tries to run away. King Crimson catches him, takes his body out. But before he could do that, Silver Chariot Requiem was already in effect. And if you know, you never want to be in radius when Silver Chariot Requiem is in effect. So it switches everyone in their bodies, including Doppio and Diablo separately. So now the group has to find out who's who. And ironically, guess whose body Bruno got? Diablo. But Bucciarati was not playing those games. He tells his team, kill my body on sight. And that's what they do. His body ends up dying, and who was in his body was Doppio. Now they have to find out where Diablo was hiding, because he was disguising his soul as his daughter's. And while all this is going on, they're chasing Silver Chariot down, trying to get that stand arrow back from him. And he's like, nah, move. But eventually my zombified goat ends up finding out that Diablo and Trish were both in Mista's body. But while trying to keep the arrow away from Diablo, Diablo gets a little angry. And he decides, you know what, fuck this. Punches through Trish. But Bucciarati finds something very important out. He finds out Silver Chariot's weakness. And from there, he destroys his soul light, making him 1, let go of the stand arrow, and 2, save Trish before Diablo just hops on her again. And by doing that, he had reverted the effects of Silver Chariot Requiem, sending everyone back to their original bodies, including him. But what happened with him, he just started floating up. And he started telling his appreciation to Giorno. And through his appreciation, he decides, you know what? I got you. And lends that arrow straight directly to his hands. It falls in his hands, basically, allowing him to reach one of the greatest powers in JoJo. Wow, Bruno ascends to the heavens carried by angels on golden clouds. I'm not lying. That's literally what happened. And I'm sure we all know what happened to Diablo after this. Giorno could not let that disrespect upon his capo slide. So Diablo still, till this day, is stuck in a death loop. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You know, we're on the way to 2K, so please like it up. And until next time, peace.